This week on Inside the Headset, we are featuring our NAIA Regional Coaches discussion. The regional winners are, out of Region 1, Mike Jasper from Bethel University. Region 2, Jordan Langs from Indiana Wesleyan. Region 3, Joe Woodley from Grandview University. Region 4, Matt McCarty from Northwestern College. And Region 5, Troy Purcell from Carroll College. The coaches recap their seasons, their team's culture, and reflect on some influential leaders in their life. Now, let's get inside the headset with our NAIA coaches.
Guys, on behalf of all of our coaches around the country, congratulations. I think it's not just the success that you had. I think what's one of the greatest honors when your peer group in your region basically votes for you. Whenever your peer group recognizes you as one of the outstanding coaches, to me, that has got unbelievable significance. And so congratulations. No, it was a hard-fought season. We're kind of coming out of COVID, but there's still some lingering things that are kind of happening with all that. And so, Mike, let's talk about just the nature of this year for you. What made this year special and different, besides the wins and losses, just about how the season went for you and how it progressed?
I think it was a lot about the culture. I think, the coaches, we were talking about it coming off of COVID, how many fifth-year seniors that we had that were able to play. So I think that's kind of what made it special, to see some of those guys grow up and to get another opportunity to come together. And I think it really helped our culture, being able to retain those kids and having some special young men just really helped grow Bethel. And so it's a great place to be as is, and it was great to just see those guys go forward and be great.
Yeah, that team camaraderie, I think, is even more challenged now because of the transfer portal and all the other things that are kind of out there in the world. And sometimes it's easier for players to maybe find a different place and approach. And so that culture, I think, as you mentioned, it's great to hear that, because I think so many of us from years past would say the culture is one of the most prominent things that you can have in a team. Jordan, how about you guys? Had a great season. I know you probably had even some same experiences, but let's kind of stay on that subject matter of what made this year so special for you.
Yeah, I agree with Coach that I think that the good effect of COVID is this opportunity for kids to be around more. So you get a core group of your kids who are here for longer, which I think is great. And I think for us, as we started up 5 years ago, so for us, we were still getting to a point of maturity as a program. And we started to find our formula for winning. We had some turnover in our staff. We had some change in our personnel on the field, all good players, but we had to find ourselves. And finding yourself and then hitting a point where you were figuring out what your formula was for winning while you were still winning ball games, even as you went through the growing pains. I think we experienced that early, and by the time we got into the meat of our season, I think we felt like we were really comfortable and confident in who we were, and we knew what it took for 60 minutes to try to come out on top.
Yeah, it's incredible, the youth of your program. As you mentioned, Bethel, great place, program, culture, some of those kind of things are established. And here you're early on in this, and there's some challenges.
Yeah,
there's the opportunities too that you have to overcome some of the past history.
Exactly.
Too.
So we got to do it the way we wanted to early, and we were blessed by having people who were bought into it. You had to bring in players who were bought into a vision that we didn't have anything to begin with, and then coaches who were giving everything they had to it every day, and we felt really blessed by that.
That's great. Joe, same question to you. What made this year so special for you, and why of the success?
Yeah, there's when you come off an appearance in the national title game, obviously there's expectations that come with that. Of course, it didn't turn out the way we did. The way we wanted it to a year ago, but it made our guys hungry, and I think they showed that hunger throughout the year to get back to the point, to give ourselves an opportunity to get to that championship game again. Didn't quite work out. Sometimes you just don't play your best game, but the opponent has a lot to do with that a lot of the times too, and humbling, frustrating. But as you look back, you certainly appreciate all the things that, the senior class, a handful of guys that stuck around with that COVID year, our quarterback in particular, came back. Whereas, he could have graduated and moved on, but he was, it just kind of tells you, hopefully it tells us kind of the culture that we do have in our program where guys did want to come back. and go do those things, because we live in a transfer portal world and a move to the next step type of deal, and our guys chose to stay and play small college football, and a number of them had opportunities to quote unquote maybe move up, but because of the success we had, right, wrong, and different people are coming after them. That's part of the deal we're in nowadays. But again, I think it's just a testament to the kind of guys that we have in our program, and it was rewarding. Not the ultimate reward like Coach McCarty had, but you take victories when you get them, and I certainly feel we're in a good spot with the type of kids we have in our program.
That's great. Yeah, it's so hard to get to the pinnacle, and that Matt, kind of coming to you now on that. To win the national championship, to have the successes and all those other kinds of things, and we all recognize it. That is, everything's got to hit right. I mean, just health and team camaraderie, culture, all those things have got to blend. But let's hear from you on this same subject and how special this year was.
Yeah, I think this year was really special, and similar to what these guys all mentioned, it was one of those years where our culture and everything really came. The adversity from the past few years, the setbacks from the past few years, really helped us be the team that we were this year. And as much as you didn't like losing the national championship a couple years ago or losing the semifinals last year in a close game, those setbacks really propelled us forward to the team we were this year. And our guys, we had experienced players, and those guys, our players, really deserve a ton of credit for the culture that they built. And everybody who's playing football is trying to do the same things on the field, but it's how you do those things is so important. And I think the success that these guys' programs had, they have great cultures. And I think for us this year, our players deserve a ton of credit for the culture that they've built. And it was so much fun. To end as a national champs was special, and our players deserve a ton of credit for that.
That's outstanding. Every year that I'm up here, culture always ends up being the top thing. It's one of them, and maybe every year it changes a little bit. The culture changes some because your leadership changes, but the ultimate, the family and the winning attitudes and all those kind of things, those are the things that never change. I appreciate that. I know I wouldn't be where I wouldn't have had the opportunities that I had if it hadn't been for some coaches. And you don't have to name one singularly if you want to name, because I learned so much from each guy that I was around. But I'd like for our young coaches in particular to kind of hear you guys reflect a little bit on the ones that just influenced you. Why did they influence you? Maybe that one that's the most prominent, not that others didn't, and maybe how they influenced you. So, Mike, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think I could answer that question rather easily. I grew up in a single-parent household, so I didn't have a father really growing up. And Coach Lonnie Higdon was my Pee Wee football coach. And he set my life on the right path, to be honest with you, because then after that, it led way to me meeting many other great men, like guys that are on this panel, that continue to pour into me spiritually and kind of showed me how to be a man. And my that wonderful mother, she raised me the right way. But it says something when you have a good, strong male role model in your life, and that's why I coach. Was fortunate to play in the NFL and do some things with this game that set my life on the right path. But I think it's so important. I think the best coaches are the ones who pour into you and want to make sure you leave better than how you came in.
I so much appreciate that, and especially as we were talking earlier about the climate that we're in right now, and just our role as coaches, our responsibility to those young people. And how many times you all have heard this, where you had a coach or a player come back to you, or you had someone say how much of an influence you were in their lives. And as coaches, we whether we want to be accountable for it, the reality of it is we fill that role for so many young people, and it is so important. Jordan, same question to you. A prominent figure in your life or a coach that really influenced your life, and maybe how?
Yeah, so I played at Wheaton College, and that was really a transformational time for me as a player. I stayed on and coached right away, and Coach Mike Swider obviously influenced me in the way he ran his program, and just being a man of character and someone who was doing it for reasons well beyond football, which is really important to me. And also in the same breath, in terms of my coaching trajectory, at one point he believed in me, and he gave me an opportunity to do something I probably wasn't ready for at one point, which was to coordinate a defense of a really good program. And I was really young and I wasn't ready. And for him to do that, or Mark DeMichael, who hired us at Indiana Wesleyan, just people who looked past things on the field and saw the person and wanting to invest in the people. And then, man, when you have someone who believes in you and gives you opportunity, that's really monumental for me, and it's impacted the way we try to handle assistants and coaches and holding on to people loosely as you develop them and letting them go eventually to do what they're called to do. And so my time at Wheaton and my time at Indiana Wesleyan have been major impacts on me because of that, because of the people and having faith in them, and then faith in us, and then allowing us to do something that they trusted us to do.
That's interesting. You said belief, and you said it several times in there. And I recall a coach at one point in time talking about just the power of belief, because belief kind of creates hope, and hope creates success. Because without hope, there's no chance for success. And you said that just a number of times. That maybe kind of reflect just a little bit on that. Joe, same question.
Yeah, I grew up a coach's kid, so certainly. My dad comes to the forefront when it comes to somebody that's been a great influence on me, and of course he was a head coach at Grandview before me, so I kind of got to see how he did it, for about 10 years up close and personal, and without a doubt him, but maybe a harder answer, probably other than my dad, who's been my number one influence, definitely my college coach. Coach McCarney at Iowa State, just to this day, after every game, I get a text or a phone call. I don't know how many college coaches are doing that to their former players out there that are coaching and always wanting to know how we did. And again, my dad and Coach Mack are probably two of my biggest influences, guys I bounce a lot of things off of, and it's pretty much like gospel to me when I ask them a question, and kind of take it from there. Obviously try and put my own spin on it, because I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not, but certainly two big influencers in my life for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that you brought Dan into this too. He's a great gentleman, as you mentioned, great football coach. But so many things about our game that continues to evolve and change, and yet some of the core things that we've all kind of talked about, those really don't change that much. You're in, you're out, and so even for some of our older coaches that are out there, they can, they have those same reflections that you guys have right now, because even though they're not, we're not running the wing T anymore, the reality is there's still a lot of things that are never going to change. Matt, same question.
At first, I'd say my high school football coach, extremely successful high school football coach in the state of Iowa, Jay Rosaboom, and just the standard that he set for us as high school students, and the focus on discipline and doing the little things. I look back now on how I coach, and so much of it was influenced on him, and just the belief that he had in me to encourage me to pursue playing college football and get into coaching. I think that belief in the college coaches that I had, I was fortunate enough I played football and baseball in college, and so my football coach in college was very instrumental in helping me be who I've become, but so are my other coaches. And I look back at their influence, and it's because they cared about me outside of being an athlete that they were able to impact me so much. And so I take that so much as when I coach now, it's the football piece is really, really important, but it is just a piece of their college experience. They're not going to end up being football players. And so how can we positively impact them so that cycle continues? And it's those relationships, I think, that are so important. And I think it's something we get to do at our level, is we really get to invest in those relationships, because that's ultimately what matters so much more.
I appreciate that. Well, gentlemen, congratulations again on behalf of all of our coaches. Congratulations. Very proud of you. Wish you all the best, and thank you for doing this. This is an opportunity for us to pass along your wisdom and your knowledge to all these coaches, and it has a chance to live on forever. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset. If you heard anything on this episode that you would like to learn more information about, head over to afcapodcast.com, where you can find every episode and all of the corresponding show notes. While you're there, take a second to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, please let us know by sending an email to podcast@afca.com. Make sure to follow the podcast on Twitter at Inside the Headset and tag it when you share each episode. You can stay up to date with all things AFCA by following the @WeAreAFCA Twitter account. Every episode of Inside the Headset can also be found on your favorite audio streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. If you are not currently a member of the AFCA, be sure to find us online at afca.com and apply to join over 10,000 NFL, college, and high school coaches from around the country who are striving to be the best they can be. With an AFCA membership, you gain invaluable access to the annual AFCA convention, the bi-monthly magazine, and the new and improved digital library, which contains thousands of videos and articles contributed by hundreds of current and former football coaches. You can also visit afcainsider.com to sign up for our free weekly email newsletter on the right-hand side of the screen. It comes out every Tuesday at lunch and is filled with great articles and stories written by many of the same coaches you hear on the podcast. It's geared to help you become a better coach tomorrow than you are today. Be sure to connect with me on Twitter at Coach Mario Price. And remember, the AFCA is not just an annual convention. It is an association that continually promotes education, guidance, and networking. But it is also so much more than that. The AFCA is about celebrating the past and educating the future. It is about developing great coaches who will produce great teams and even better people. So invest in your skill set and impact today by engaging with the AFCA.